Hello there. Just going to do this video here to say that I'm not sure I'm going to read through the rest of the article, but it's all publicly available now, and there's not much commentary I can make on what is said in the rest of the article. I suppose I can say a few things, but I've said it all before actually, and many other people have said it as well, in terms of how Lucy Letby has been affected by this campaign of bullying and persecution and targeting. Some very sad parts that are coming up here in the article that I haven't read through yet, or read out, as it were, in which you can see how being targeted and bullied in this way for so long, and having your reputation and your sense of self attacked for so long, what it does to a person. And just to make the point again is that, people en route have said, oh, why didn't Lucy Letby demonstrate or more emotionally state her innocence? But she's been stating her innocence for many, many years, thousands and thousands of times across interviews and an extraordinarily long trial. Had she have started shouting and that, first of all, not everybody is that type of person to want to do that. Why should she do that? Why should she perform in the way that other people expect her to because of fictional ideas, things they've seen in films and plays and in books in which somebody falsely accused has starts screaming and shouting in the court because they've seen that. They want people to perform in that way. They've got no idea how they themselves would react to this kind of psychological torture over years. And moreover, she certainly would have been advised not to do that by her legal representatives. And even more than that, another aspect is that had she have done that, had she have been highly voluble and shouting and screaming her innocence in a public setting and been highly emotional, that would have been turned against her by the media and by everyone who's accusing her. Oh, look at this out of control person. That's the real her. That's the mask coming off. Look how out of control she is. Oh, she seems all very placid, but on the surface, but that's the real her now. So that would have been turned against her as well, had she done that. But why should she do that? Why should she change her persona and her personality makeup? She's acted with complete dignity. Well, I don't know if dignity is the right word. It's just, well, it is, I don't know, with self-control. But she's been worn down. She's been attacked for years and years and years and absolutely monstered by an evil system and evil individuals. And then her performance is being picked apart. It's another layer of it. It's another layer of attack against the person, so that whatever they did wouldn't be right. However they reacted wouldn't be right. Attacked for acting this way, attacked for acting in the opposite way. It's just that's what they've been doing. That's what, unfortunately, when it's an aspect of humanity that sometimes people are chosen by other evil individuals, evil organisations to be targeted in this way. That's what they've done, and nothing they can do, and nothing. It's all unrealistically focused on them then about how they react to it, and they'll be blamed for that. They'll be blamed for their reaction. And again, I say, it's because I think a lot of people are expecting fictional reactions that they're drawing from fictional. They've never been in a court themselves. They've never been accused of anything like this, and they think, oh well, I would do this, I would do that. They wouldn't. They've got no idea what they'd do. I remember Alison Pearson, the journalist, saying, but she didn't declare her innocence. It was strange, in a tweet. I mean, that's the most outrageous lie This is someone who's never said anything other than that she's innocent of these horrendous charges, these made-up charges, these vile charges against her. And you get this so-called journalist come along and say, well, you never said you were innocent, and you've been saying you're innocent for years, thousands of times, in thousands of ways, for years. And then somebody says, oh, you never said you were innocent. That's the kind of insanity or willful. I don't know what there is. There's some mental block there, isn't there? There's some mental block. There's something wrong with that individual that can't see that the person... Anyway, I'm just repeating myself. I've done all this in other videos, and I don't want to... The last thing I want to do is keep making videos about this when it's not necessary. There's a momentum happening now with all these reports coming out, and more people, with medical and scientific backgrounds joining in effectively and saying there's something terribly wrong here, which there obviously is, and there always has been. And because of the system is as it is, it does require people of influence and power, essentially. It's great that David Davis is going to be spearheading this campaign or probe. It's been called different things to get to the bottom. He's got this parliamentary privilege to do so, and he's going to be spearheading that, which is fantastic news, and I think that's great of him to do that. And that's the way it's going to move forward, by accruing people of, I don't think it's a complicated matter, but it's been made complicated by the layer upon layer upon layer of lies told by so-called experts, so that unfortunately you need to deconstruct that with other experts now. But really, if the system was different, you just say, of course this is complete rubbish. The ordinary person that doesn't have to be medically or scientifically trained, you just know this is nonsense. This is it's not nonsense. It's a crime. It's a crime against an innocent person, and it's a crime in respect of covering up the truth of why those babies suffered in the way that they did, and why so many died over that period of time, and what the actual and real cause was. And it was all based in that unit, and how it was being badly run, and how it wasn't able to operate at the level it was operating, which is an NHS-wide problem. Obviously, NHS is in full self-protection mode, as is the criminal justice system now. I mean, I don't need to read out the rest of this article. It's publicly available. I'll put the same link below for this video, which is to the archived version of it. They just go into here about the most ridiculous things that the police did, looking at Lucy Letby's text, where I've said all this probably about 30 times in other videos, that when Lucy Letby says she's on holiday in Spain, she's going to come back with a bang, and the police infer from that she's sort of it's her playing a game, saying I'm going to come back and up my murder rates. It's just so wicked and insane and sick from the police, and that this was even just so unbelievable and ridiculous, but evil, actually. Evil that you would use all this in this most ridiculous, banal, stupid, vile way to destroy someone. Use everything they say. You can see that's what they've done. Any move that she made was used against her, has been used against her. Any way she reacted has been used against her. Anything she wrote down has been used against her. She can have a piece of paper in which she's written, as she has done there, I've done nothing wrong. That's used against her. I don't know, there's 100 examples I could choose. There's no point in me repeating anything. It's got its own momentum now, and many more people are on board and are publicising this outrageous miscarriage of justice widely. That's going to continue. I don't know what's going to happen with this Channel 5 documentary. I think it's coming out next weekend. Wait and see what what the attitudes expressed there are. I hope they're positive and fair and right, but we just have to wait and see. Just looking through the rest of this article here. Yeah, and there's this ghastly prosecutor, the way they behaved. I'm not going to read through the rest of it. I mean, I have read it a number of times, but there's just no point in me just reading it for the sake of it now, unless I've made a few freedom of information requests that potentially could glean something. I think other people have made similar freedom of information requests of the hospital, but it's going to move forward now. The clamour is going to grow. It is growing. It's not going to go away. It's going over here. Aspects. I'm looking at the Rachel Aviv article. It's going over here. Aspects of the Shuley paper, the 1989 paper that was used and misused, but I've covered all that in previous videos. The statistics element. Michael Hall, who wasn't called, you see, this is a bit, he wasn't called. He says in here something that he didn't want to know why he wasn't called. Hall, it says here, Hall thought about asking Letby's lawyers why he had not been called to testify, but anything they said would be confidential, so he decided that he'd rather not know. Apparently he's retired now, Michael Hall. That's the neonatologist, defence expert that was never called. I won't read through anymore, and I think I'll hold off making videos for now, unless there's something very specific that's new. But it was an amazing article by Rachel Aviv, and it's really, I'm aware that other people wanted to write things about this case in the UK, but back from last year, but because of the reporting restrictions, they weren't allowed to. So it's very sad at the end of this article when Lucy says, there's a bit of, what does it say here? She's getting support from her friend Margaret, her mentor, who says, you're a good nurse, and we just don't have magic wands. Margaret says it's important to remember that a death isn't a fail. You're an excellent nurse, Lucy. Don't forget it. Lucy says, I know, and I don't feel it's a failure. More, it's just very sad to know what the families go through. And that's how the article ends, that Rachel Aviv wrote, on that very poignant note about the heart of where Lucy was at and who she is and what her concerns were. And it's just, sorry, this video is a bit patchy, but I'm not making videos to just drag out anything and just keep making them for the sake of it. And if there's something new that comes up in relation, some new insight that I can report on that other people have had, and they're kind of coming up all the time, but I think with all the links I give you in the, I'm not giving you them, I'm just writing them in just the links in the bar below. Just keep following those, and if you're on Twitter, follow Michael McConville, Dr. Michael McConville, at Reason Over Fear, at Reason Over Fear. Over is all spelt out as words. In particular, in terms of the medical aspects of this, that he's looking at every case that was in the original trial. Follow Peter Elston on there as well, and Law Health Tech. And Law Health Tech is Dr. Scott McLachlan, and I've put his Substack below. If you just keep following them, they're the main people, and obviously it's going to be in the mainstream media as well, more and more. with these articles coming out. I'd heard there was another Guardian article coming out soon, which was meant to be very, very powerful one, but that hasn't come out as yet. The chap, I've forgotten his name now, the Dr. Private Eye, who writes under this sobriquet MD, doesn't he, or in his MD column. It's just been a strange... it shouldn't have been possible for what they did. It shouldn't have been possible, but it reveals, it goes to the heart of the corruption on just a countrywide scale, really. Well, worldwide scale, really. The corruption and lying and this kind of injustice is, it's not the exception anymore. It's that this can happen. Shows that these systems are rotten. They're rotten. And their attitudes are rotten. And their complacency is just rotten and deeply, deeply sinister. And you'd only really know and begin to understand that if you were at the receiving end of it. And in the most extreme way that Lucy Letby has been and is. And her family impacted and her friends impacted. It's going to move on. I just hope it's quick rather than slow. And the what do we call it? The institutions, the establishment. I don't know what these words mean anymore. I mean, it's made up of individual people and networks of people and networks of power. I don't know what to call them anymore, but they're going to resist it, of course. They're going to resist this because the ramifications are huge when this miscarriage of justice is overturned. But they will resist it, and it will and should expedite. I don't know. I'm using these words that I had no intent, no plan to make all these videos about this case, but it kind of drives you onwards. But the last thing I want to do is sort of make videos for no reason about it, just to talk about it for no reason. It's a hideous, horrific miscarriage of justice. It's simply got to be put right. We know, surely we know all we need to know already to do that. We absolutely do. We absolutely do. We don't need to dance on the head of a pin or keep reinventing the wheel about why it is. There's literally no evidence against Lucy Letby. None. Zero. Nothing. I know, unfortunately, they've got to go through these motions now of kind of disproving what was never proved in the first place. That's the irrational sort of burden that's been placed in order to free someone who's innocent, is that within that system and the people that can see it's obviously a miscarriage of justice, and yet you've got to go to extraordinary lengths to disprove what was never proved. And that's the distortion of it all, that it shouldn't be that way. There was this case, I mentioned it en route in other videos, at Barry White, that it took years and years to get scientists to disprove this absolute junk science that was advanced at the trial by the prosecution's so-called expert again, that was a complete rubbish. But some complete dangerous corrupt idiot can, whether they're corrupt or stupid, whatever it is in that case, the Barry White case, that they can just say it so glibly and arrogantly, and then it takes years and years for other people to turn it over. It shouldn't be that way, should it? It shouldn't be that way. Junk science. But we're surrounded by that all the time. We're surrounded by it. And it's very, very dangerous, as we know. It's very, very dangerous. I don't know. I don't know. I can tell by, the comments. Obviously, there are some comments of people that seem to enjoy the idea of an innocent person being convicted. But the vast majority of comments, people get it. People have always understood this. And there's nothing wrong with it. Originally, it's a deep, intuitive feeling. There's something wrong here, and we should trust that. Yes, you've got to go further, and you've got to look into the detail of it, and just say, "Oh, I just sense it." But then once you do that, it becomes even more and more apparent that intuition is 100% correct. It just constantly validates it. It's a monstrous thing that they've done, and they've done it to other people as well. They've done it to. I hope it leads to a looking at other cases of other nurses, Ben Geen, Colin Norris, Victorino, Chua, and perhaps there are others out there as well. That all those cases will be looked at as well once this miscarriage of justice is overturned. I think it will have that effect, and it should do. And some of those people I mentioned there have been in prison for many, many years now. Had massive chunks of their lives stolen by an evil so-called judicial system and police system. I don't know how you'd ever get over that, and how the families would ever get over that. Well, how would you? And they're still living it now. They're living it day on day. Oh, I don't know. It's going to be. I keep saying the same things. It's going to be overturned. It's just got to happen quickly. It's got to happen quickly. If I hear any information from any other source or through these freedom of information requests, I'll make a video about that. I don't need to read any other articles. They're all publicly available. The ones that are coming out at the moment, Telegraph, Guardian, Private Eye, etc., etc. Loads of other ones as well. There's quite a few I've got to catch up on. There's this Casey, a barrister in a publication called Unheard. I haven't read that yet, but apparently that's very strong as well from the legal point of view. That I've got to read that. I'll just keep following what Dr. McConville's doing, and Peter Alston, if he does any further podcasts. All the links that I put below, just keep following those. And if you're on Twitter, follow Dr. McConville and Law Health Tech, which is Dr. Scott McLachlan as well. And Science on Trial, follow Science on Trial for their articles, of course. And Richard Gill, follow what Richard Gill's doing, of course, because he's right in the thick of this, and as he was in the Lucy Letby case. And he's going to be very instrumental as well in helping getting this overturned. So good luck to all these people, and these people obviously with relevant backgrounds and medical and scientific and statistical backgrounds that the system will need to listen to. I mean, they're not going to listen to a random YouTuber, obviously, of course they're not. But that system. But there are many, many people coming forward now, and have been in recent weeks. It's gone quicker than I thought that it might have done, actually. Although there was a sense there was going to be this big sort of outcry once the restrictions had lifted, and it has happened. And Peter Hitchens is obviously doing a lot of good reporting on it as well. And it's waking people up. It's waking people up to. There's others, of course. I mean, this thing can only gather the necessary momentum via that mainstream media world as such, and articles and documentaries. That's the way it's going to move forward. It's a very, very different sort of territory now, or setup, than it felt like 11 months ago. I looked at the first video that I did on this, and it says like 11 months. So it's been really a year, effectively. But it felt very, very different last year. Incredibly different. It's going to work out, but it's, the idea that they keep an innocent person in prison for another day is an outrage, and that applies to all who are innocent. The CCRC being under such fire at the moment, with people in Parliament saying that the head of it should go, and this person arrogantly wanting to stay, as they always do. They always say, "Oh, yeah, I'm the best person for the job," even though they're manifestly failing. But as I've said in a previous video, I think these organisations like that they're meant to fail. They're meant to deliberately fail, because they're there as they're not there as what they purport to be. They're there to protect. They're there as a buffer for the system. They're there to protect the criminal justice system from being shown to the world as how bad it is. So they'll restrict as many appeals, or they'll deny as many referrals for appeal as they possibly can, or just sit on the information for years, which is, I'm not. I think that's a moral crime. I think they're acting in a criminal fashion if they do that, because they're abetting a state kidnap, essentially, aren't they? If they've got evidence there that would free an innocent person, and they're deliberately not doing it, or deliberately not expediting it to a court of appeal, they're abetting a crime, which is the crime of kidnap, and somebody's life being stolen by the state. So I think I'm going to leave it there, and sorry, this video is a bit all over the shop. It always has been this. I shouldn't call it a story or a case. I mean, even the words we use. It's someone's life, isn't it? It's been destroyed. Someone's life's been destroyed. That's not a case. It's not a story. It's their life. But we use these sort of shorthand words. I understand that. Fantastic work by Rachel Aviv there. There are some journalists, obviously, who are capable of that level of work and effort and drive to get to the bottom of, I was going to say a story, but to get to the truth. And thank God there are some left. And Felicity Lawrence in the Guardian recently, and others, of course. I can't remember all the names now, but got a few bits to catch up on. But I'm going to keep following developments, shall I say, and no doubt people who watch some of the videos I've done and have commented, and thank you for watching the videos, and thank you for all the comments, that no doubt you'll be following it as well. I'll put again below the new podcasts that Dr. McConville is individually doing, where he's going through the medical evidence of each individual child that was on the list of accusations that ended up as convictions. He's doing that in great detail now, so that's something to follow as well. What's wanted, of course, is for this to be reversed and put to an end as quickly as possible, and for it not to drag on, there doesn't need to be any videos about it, or the point of videos is to communicate in this situation here, is to communicate and can have the forum in which people can discuss and say, well, I'm not the only one who thinks this. I thought I was the only one. And I've come across people who've said that, I thought I was the only one. But the more and more people find other people who thought they were the only one, you realise that it's more and more general, intuitive, and then bloody obvious understanding of what's happened here. And everything that will fall out after is for later, in terms of, obviously the parents will want to know exactly what it's going to be about, what should have happened in the first place, about medical negligence and corporate negligence of that particular NHS trust. That's what it's going to have to be about. And then, I don't know, I want to leave this video on a positive note, and it's that I wholeheartedly believe Lucy Letby will be freed and be returned to her family and friends to build her life up again after the trauma of what's been done to her. Actually, she's been victimised. She's been victimised for a very long time, and that the parents then also know the truth, and that they can be relieved of the burden of the lie that their children were deliberately attacked. But then they also have to. I'm just going to close the window a bit. There's a bit of noise from outside. Then they also have to get the truth of what did happen, don't they? And a lot of things will flow. There'll be a lot of repercussions, obviously, as we know. Anyway, take care. I wasn't sure whether to just stop making videos about it or just do this last one to say that I'm going to continue to follow it. If there's anything new that is important, I felt it was important to share, then I'll do that. But I'm not going to keep there's no point in repeating myself over and over again. The truth will come out. Yeah, it really has to, doesn't it? It has to come out. Obviously, there's been people in the past where it's never come out, essentially, never come out publicly, and they've died or even been hanged in the past. When there was capital punishment, they've been hanged, and they've been innocent. And I know a lot of guilty people go free, but what's that old saying? Better 100 guilty go free than one innocent person is put in prison or punished in some way or other. It fills us with for people who care about it, which is, obviously there's some that don't seem to, but it kind of fills you with horror, the idea of being punished for something you haven't done. There's a moral outrage, a righteous moral outrage about that it shouldn't happen. And this has happened to such a dark and deep and disturbing extent here. It's unfathomable. The system wants to protect itself. It doesn't care how good, bad, or indifferent it is, actually. It cares about itself. And the system is made up of individuals, not wholly, but the preponderance of them care more about their status and their salary than they do about problems in that system. They don't want to rock the boat that feeds them. That's a bit of a mixed metaphor. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to bite the hand that feeds them, put it that way. They don't want to do that, do they? So they won't criticise it too much. But there are some outliers, of course. There's, Mark McDonald has been very strong in his criticisms of the system here, and this other Casey, I can't remember his name at the moment, from the Unheard article. Unheard. I'll put a link to that as well. I haven't read it yet myself. But I wish you all well, anyone who's watched some of these videos and this one, and there's going to come a time when we hear the news that Lucy Letby has been freed on appeal, or that just simply that the convictions have been quashed. Does there need to be a retrial? I don't think so. I think we're way past that. It's not about retrials. It's about quashing the convictions of an absurdly unsafe. Well, the idea is that's a kind of what do you call it? Understatement. It's not that it's unsafe. It's just that it's so horrifically wrong and obviously wrong. Quash the convictions, and then begin to make, as much as one possibly can, reparations towards the innocent party, and then to take the necessary further steps in terms of accountability for those who created this injustice and covered up, and those who covered up the truth of what actually happened and why they did it. I'll leave it there. I know this is a bit all over the shop, this video, but I've not been one for writing it down and trying to make it seem ultra smooth, because it's not a smooth, this isn't a smooth thing. It is highly emotional, but it's about facts as well. It's the driver is the kind of outrage of what these systems and these organisations and individuals can do. The driver is the outrage at the injustice, and that's an emotional gut feeling of this can't stand, this can't continue. We know it's wrong. We know it's wrong, and it's got to be put right in it. Surely to God it will be, and I hope that God, whatever God means to any individual, is involved in the sense that is directing those with the required position in our society and to have influence and power and focus to direct the right outcome here. So people like David Davison, because obviously they're needed. It's not going to work otherwise. It's going to require that level of cooperation between people that can influence these systems. And that does seem to be growing now, and it has been over the last few weeks. It's happened even more than a lot of us, I think, had hoped was possible. It's happened more quickly, and it's more intensely, and it's gaining steam, gaining traction. I'm just mumbling now. I think all those who watch this video and have done the other ones, which I can't believe there's like over 100 of them, they just know it's been wrong from the beginning. They know it. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I've got to stop this video now. Take care, and all the best to you all. And I'm really looking forward to the day, and I probably would do a video then if I still have this channel, or still doing videos, or still feel like I can do them, or if it's still feel like I want to speak about it. Oh, I'm very much looking forward to the day that we get the good news about that this miscarriage of justice is overturned, and then I'll probably have a glass of wine or two then, I think. Take care, everybody. All the best. Bye-bye.